Welcome to the Terri Talks. I'm your host, Terri Brown, and I'll be talking on Tuesdays with real people about real challenges and solutions in real estate investing. It says, count it all joy when you fall into direst temptation, meaning there's going to be some temptation, right? That also tells us that there's always a war between good and evil going on in the earth. So you're not going to be without challenges. But I said this morning on a show that I was on that I would rather struggle with the resources, or have a hard day on the beach than having a hard day and going to a job I don't want to go to, right? So you want to make sure that your belief system is super tight, and you want to get in communities that reinforces a growth mindset. And I'm going to give you some challenges today so that you can ask yourself where you stand. Because another thing we do, and again, I'm Black, so I love everybody, but to this season, I'm bearing down and leaning into my own community. And it's important for us to make sure, based on where we come from, you're going to have all kinds of people that say, oh, you got time for that, or why you putting energy into that? You're going to have to make sure that you are around information and people that speaks to the growth in you and not to the mediocrity in you. Amen. A to the men. And we don't want to find ourselves in a place of deception. So we want to make sure we address our belief system. And the blessing about it with that is, if it's not in a good place, just get it in a good place, right? And if you need some help, you can message me. I'll help you. I'm sure Sharon.
It's really as simple as making a decision. It's really it's as simple as making a decision that I'm not going to. I don't like being here. You have to be so uncomfortable with that uncomfortability, meaning you don't like being in debt, but you've become comfortable with it, and so it's become like your little playmate. Y'all, you don't really like it, but you here, so I'm just dealing with you. But you have to become uncomfortable with being comfortable in that uncomfortableness. And so that comes with, number one, saying, you know what, I'm not going to live like that. Realizing that you're worthy of more than that, and making a decision that you're going to turn from that. Repentance is really simply changing your mind. It's really that simple. And so you can change your mind about that and then turn around and start walking in the opposite direction. But then the other part that's also important is that Terri doesn't necessarily like when people say this, but you don't know what you don't know. So what you need to do, though, is go seek out some information in areas that you want to know. Go ask somebody, go get a book. One of the first books that I read.
That's the reason why I don't like it, because we prompted to do everything else. I want to buy a new car, or I want to give my daughter a themed prom, right? Or I want to, we do all of the other things. So now just put in the word. If it is mindset, if it is, growth, like you can put in the word, you can Google it. If you don't even want to go outside of your front door, right? You don't want to go out your front door. So that's why I say, and especially if you get into a space, especially in real estate investing, instead of just diving in, Google real estate investing. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure stuff comes up, right? So that's the only reason why. I don't want people to be thinking that, I'm just averse to people. I'll help you in a minute. I'll help a fish, right? But here's what I know. I only can help you but so far, right? And if I help you too much, then you won't do nothing, right? And not only that, I have people come into my coaching programs and, they're stunned that I'm like, you got to do it with me. One, because I can take your money, but you want to be able to do this over and over and over again. So you need to get mastery. We teach mastery for that very reason. You need to be able to teach it to the next generation. If you are allowing them to see you struggle in debt, why not allow them to watch you thrive and wealth, right? And just if you ain't even get to the wealth yet, how about financial stability, right? Which then leads to that. So, but I understood what you meant.
Yes.
All right. So
I wasn't poking at you, but you have to be willing to assess where you are and acknowledge, okay, I really don't know a lot about this. And what I've come, and I think I shared this with you earlier, you know, things become available to you, and information comes to you as you're in progress, and as you're seeking it out, then it comes to you. It's kind of like you go to the grocery store, everything you want is inside the grocery store, but you sitting in the parking lot. Well, the stuff inside the store just ain't gonna come falling out the store, out the doors to you. You have to start walking towards the store, and when you get to the store, what happens? The doors open for you, right? Then you have access to everything that's on the inside. I come from a family of readers, like voracious readers. Like, my father passed away, we found 19 boxes of books in a 800 square foot apartment. It was ridiculous. And so you can't hide anything from my family in a book, because we gonna find it. My uncle sent me a book before he passed away and put $200 in it. You know I found it, because you know I opened that book up to read it. There are other treasures inside, and we live in an information age, so everything's Googleable.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with that, watch your blind spots, the hidden barriers to growth. So the next BS is watch your blind spot. What is a blind spot? It is a hidden barrier to growth. And I know that came off of Holy Spirit, because I ain't even bright enough to come up with that
Yes, you.
flow of words.
Yes, you are.
I am. Amen. I am. I thank you. I received that, Sharon. Thank you. All right. So, what are some blind spots? Hustle versus legacy building. Are you grinding without a long term plan? Now, I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I want you, as we go through this, because y'all know I'm big on not just information stockpiling, but being able to implement. So, I want you to answer in the chat. Are you grinding without a long term plan? There's no shame here. There's no guilt. That's why you're here tonight, so you can hear something that can help you up level and help you if you're not in business yet. These are foundations. This is the foundation. This is the infrastructure that we need. And I'm going to say, a lot of people who went out and just hustled and grind because maybe that's how you needed to start off, they are circling. They've either had to circle back here, or they wish they were here. So there's no guilt, there's no shame. But in the chat, I want you to put, with a one for yes, I am grinding without a long-term plan, or two, I'm grinding with a long-term plan. All right. Another blind spot, which we said is the hidden barrier to growth, is the DIY syndrome. Believing no one can do it better than you. Guess what that leads to? Burnout.
Mm-hmm.
It leads to burnout. So even if you're already in business and you've adopted that syndrome, don't deceive yourself. Acknowledge it, and let's move on, because you're probably already burnt out, which, let's tell you in real time, is not sustainable. We do business for sustainability, for sustainable cash, for sustainable revenue, for sustainable wealth, right? All right. Here is another blind spot, a hidden barrier to your growth, the fear of growth. And I remember I wrote this down because I remember when I heard someone say that at a lecture one time. I'm like, well, why would you fear growth? This goes back to our belief system. Sometimes there are things that are lingering in the background, and there are stories and narratives that we heard, that causes us to pull back in different ways. So if you grew up hearing you doing too much, or you're over the top, or you want attention. Now, not some of that might be true, but could it been that's the way God made you? And you might, or I might need some balance and some nurturing of that, but God don't make no mistakes. So if I'm coming with that spirit at a young age where nobody influenced me, that's an innate gift and talent that may needed to be honed and structured. So fear growth is a blind spot. Thinking scaling is, and then in turn, just that small little narrative that you hear playing that makes you feel insecure and insignificant, it'll make you think scaling is too complicated or too costly. Y'all got to hear them connections. Just that one narrative about you doing too much will cause you to think that scaling a business or growing a business is too complicated or too costly, because you've been told everything is too much. And it influences. That's why we have to address our belief system. address our mindset because it influences everything that we do, right? For good, bad, or indifferent. Now let's talk about the inconsistent cash flow. Inconsistent. Oh, you better go ahead, Mo. I'm glad you on two now. She like, I'm on two now. Okay. I don't know if that's a result of you being here and hearing this, or you like, that's where we going and I'm believing to receive what I say. Either way, I'm on board with you, right? Another BS, which is a hidden barrier to growth, is inconsistent cash flow, not having predictable revenue streams or financial tracking. You know, I had to recently tell my team, like, we need to be doing income producing activities. If we're not, and money is just constantly going out the door and nothing is coming back, that is not a business. That is a benevolent fund. That is even nonprofit, because nonprofit runs like a business. And it needs money to come in either in grant form or private dollars or whatever. Money still got to flow in order to serve to capacity, right? And so if you are, got some activities going and the cash flow is inconsistent, we have to address that. And you want to start creating predictable revenue streams. Now, tonight is not the night to go into those predictable revenue streams, but come to the challenge next week. That's the start. And then you come into the collective and we help you package it up. Okay. I know that's right. We love to be your coaches because you are an action taker. Yes. Hands down. And I don't brown nose nobody. And I don't have nothing to lose to tell you that you're not a action taker, but we love you because you are an action taker and you set yourself to get the results. And I love that. And you don't look to just pull. I think this must be a word, because if I'm here, some people are just pulling, but think about if you're a person that's just pulling, right? And say you're pulling on that one person. If they're not getting replenished or there's not a cycle of reciprocity, how far is that going to go, or how effective is that person going to be? They can't. They're tired. They're burnt out, right? It's exhausting. So you want to make sure that you're not just taking or pulling, but that you're giving and you're pushing. Amen. Okay, let's shift the belief system. And so I want you to say this with me and put it in the chat. So success requires ownership, not just effort. That requires us to work on the business and not just in the business. Thanks, Janelle. Hey, Janelle, I didn't even know you were here. God bless you. Next is systems don't replace your personal touch. They enhance efficiency and make scaling reality. So a shorter way I'll say that is systems don't replace your personal touch. And you might say, well, why is that a belief system, right? Or why is that something that I need to shift? Ooh, let's go back to the DIY syndrome. Some people won't replace or add people to do the task because there's a lie. I don't know what. I guess they think the people are going to steal the business, or the people are going to outshine them. Like, first of all, it's my business. I own it. I get to add and take away. But it's a lie from the pit of hell, and it keeps us in this not being able to work on the business. You need to be, whatever your business is, you need to be able to not be so close to it on a day-to-day basis that you can look outside of it and be more resourceful and be more resilient, do more networking. Who are you networking with and positioning your business to take off? Here, our coach, and she told me this, y'all, and I'm gonna give an example. She told me last year I was putting together a summit and just things didn't go right. And she said, Terri, all you need is one person to show up. Now, at the time, I was like, I need more than one person to show up. I done paid all this money, right? But I had to I had to shift my mindset and to not just hear words from an emotional standpoint. I had to hear it from a business ownership, from a person who's in leadership. I had to be able to lead from the front, and I had to, again, remember we said it starts in your mindset first. So what she was doing was rewiring my mindset. One, to say, I don't care if nobody else show, you get one person. And what was that doing to me? That was encouraging me, that was boosting my self-confidence, but it took that and I ran with it. So as I was rebounding from that, because I lost a lot of, well, I don't want to say lost, because there's nothing lost in the kingdom of God. You either win or you learn. And I learned, right? And God is redeeming the times. He's restoring all that was taken. So I ain't lose. So I'm going to say it another way. A lot of money went out of my hands last year. As I was in the process of rebuilding, the Lord gave me one strategy. Because I said, Lord, all I need is one strategy. And He gave me one strategy that, quite frankly, I could have ran with it and just only did that strategy, right? And only targeted or had those types of clients. And we still working out it. The point is, right, you have to be able to shift your belief system. And a part of that is understanding systems don't replace your personal touch. They enhance efficiency and scale impact, or the ability to scale and scale in an impactful, powerful, meaningful, profitable way. Mm-hmm. Business structure and cash flow aren't just legalities. Remember, we're shifting our belief system right now. So if you look at this as another job and another grind and another, no, we're looking at it because it determines generational wealth. There are four asset classes. Business, real estate, commodities, and paper. The asset classes or assets is what helps you build wealth. There's no other way to build wealth. Well, I don't want to say that. It's going to be a long time. You're going to be there forever. But there is, people try and recreate the wheel. There's a structure for that. And biblically, I went and found this biblically. If you look at all natural stuff that happened in the Bible, let's start from the garden, right? Let's go to the Proverb 31 woman. She had a business. She bought land and properties in excess. And she had commodities, right? Like this is a recipe. Remember, all this stuff, most of it is being pulled from the Bible or from biblical context, right? So you want to make sure that these aren't just legalities and just, fancy terms and, oh, I got to meet a requirement by the state. No, this is to determine generational wealth. All right. So here's a question for you. And if you want deliverance, you'll answer it. And if you not only want deliverance, but you want to be able to grow exponentially, you'll answer it. Sharon be laughing at me. I know she'd be like, "What? Terri just be on her own little plane." I know, and I love it. And listen, and I will have it no other way. I don't want to be nobody else. I never tried to be nobody. I did. I remember one time, but then I'm gonna move on. I remember and this was the unhealed Terri, because so much had happened in my childhood, and I had experienced so much trauma that wasn't addressed, or nobody knew how to address me. I remember the Lord allowed me in college to do a co-op in Canada. So I was a poli-sci major. So if all y'all thinking, why she be so locked in the poli, I was a BA in political science and a minor in Spanish. And a part of my summer co-ops was I did a co-op in Canada for immigration and naturalization service. So I'll be that person, welcome home, as you're coming back into the United States, right? And it was this woman named Natasha, and she walked a certain way. And because my identity wasn't rooted in my own identity, I was adopting somebody else's identity. But the moment he set me free, I'm like, this is what you get. Now you can grow and learn, and it can profit you, or you can be turned off and then just stay stuck. I don't know. All right. So I was asked to repeat the 4 asset classes before I give you this this ask that I want to give you. The 4 asset classes is business, real estate, commodities, and paper. All right. What's one limiting belief holding you back from structuring your business for sustainability? All right. So I'm going to wait for the answers, and then we're going to address them, hopefully to give you some relief and some hope moving forward if that's you. All right, before I go on to business structures and systems, Sharon, did you want to weigh in?
The only thing probably that I'd like to add with regard to that, regarding the benefit of having businesses, is that there's also protections. When you have your business structured properly, it protects you from this litigious society that we're dealing with out here. Because if you don't have your assets in the right types of entities, if you don't have your business set up the right way, I know a lot of people who they are very good at what they do, and so they decided they went into business and they were sole proprietors, and there's no way to protect them from somebody trying to sue them because they were sole proprietors. So that means that their person and their business was one. And so they were, if anybody ever tried to sue them, their personal assets were just as much at risk as any assets that the business had. But the beautiful thing about having different business structures and entity setups is that it actually creates a separate entity that's separate from you. And as long as you don't pierce the corporate veil and be doing a whole bunch of foolishness, it protects you from things like lawsuits and stuff like that. And it also creates this separate entity that rides, depending on the structure, that rides along on your taxes, that passes you personal benefit. But we're not going to talk about taxes. I am excited that when we get to the end, just to give y'all like a heads up of what's coming in the next few weeks. I'm really excited about that because it's going to be good. But
Oh, cool. Cool. So that means you guys stay to the end because you're getting ready to get some more game. But no, that was great. And inside of our collective, we have attorneys, we have tax accountants and tax, yeah, to help us again, not just be doing something for the sake of saying I got business. Like that don't mean nothing if your business ain't profiting now. And it don't mean anything if you can't protect it. And it doesn't mean anything if I already said that, profitable, and you can't protect it, right? So that was good. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so now let's move to the next bit BS that we need to address. And we're not going to get into a whole lot of it because this is not the forum to do it. We dive deeper inside of the collective, but here are some things that you need to address and you need to consider, which is business structures and systems, the foundation for sustainable business. Remember, all of this is for sustainability, yeah, that is for sustainability. Sharon mentioned this a little bit, but you want to be able to choose the right entity for protection and tax benefits. And we're not attorneys, we're not accountants. Anything that we provide here is just for educational purposes and for things that we've experienced. However, in the collective side, we will have people that are available to assist you in this stuff directly. So don't worry about it if you're in the collective. But you want to be able to choose the right entity again for protection and tax benefits. So LLC versus S Corp versus C Corp. And some LLCs take on the designation of an S Corp. So, there's some things there that is critical to your type of business. And even with real estate, there are varying opinions about um, you know, especially properties that you hold and how many should be in an LLC. And, I hear people say, just get a LLC for every property. Just know that you're going to have to pay for accounting of all those LLCs, right? And so if that's what you want to do, because that's what you think you should do, just know that there are requirements that come with however you set that up, but you need to set it up because we're not doing, Sharon alluded, she made mention of a phrase today about, piercing the corporate veil. And it all goes in line with, making sure that you're not having, not commingling funds, and you do have an entity in place that is your holding company. So then that way, there's less exposure and liability on some other fronts. So I'll leave that and keep on going. I said I was going to stay on task, and I want to make sure I do that. You want to separate your business and personal finances. Open up a business account, establish credit, and manage expenses properly. Now, again, we'll dive deeper. This is just a wet your whistle. We'll be diving deeper into that inside of the community. But if you're not inside of our community and you're listening to this, it still rings true. You want to make sure and this credit thing, just go get a credit card. Now, there's some play which we'll teach inside of the community because we're trying to where you get other family members involved. And I'm going to do a video training on it. So don't worry about it. But you want to be able to leverage credit. You don't want to be beholden to credit. You want to be able to leverage it. All right. Building for wealth, not just for income, right? So in addressing your business systems and structures, you don't want to just be, making an entity decision just so you can be able to get a client and take money in. And that's often what happens. Like people might get a property. Let's say, unfortunately, people die and they inherit a property and somebody tell them get it out that name and put it in, your name. And so they rush to just get an LLC sometimes, but it's just to address that circumstantial event versus the long play, right? And so this is a reminder that this is not just for today. Now you can get benefits for today, but you want to design it out where you can get benefits today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to structure your business to increase valuation. This is my sweet spot. Because again, it goes back to if you're going to do it, do it. Could you imagine hustling and grinding, doing all these follow-ups? Because, business is a contact sport if you don't build it out properly. And so you got all this follow up. And if you are a service provider that requires direct, interaction, it could be exhausting. But imagine you do all of that year in, year out, but you didn't structure it properly. That when you expire, it expire and you don't get nothing from it. So again, I don't care if you baking cakes. I don't care if you are in real estate investing. I don't care if you're selling lipstick or making the shampoo. Or I don't care what it is. You want to structure it properly so that it can get evaluation, because let me tell you what a flex is, which you should be one of your end goals is to not just because let's be clear, it's work in this, but you want to generate enough money so that you can then buy a business. Yeah, you might be like, buy a business. Yes, people sell their businesses. I should let me put a note. Rose, remind me to put into the collective where you go to buy businesses. But people ain't buying a hustle. They buying clientele, they're buying processes, they're buying reoccurring clients, they're buying a system of flow, they're buying products that's already created. And so that valuation comes that when you go to sell it or pass it on, just like houses get appraised, businesses get appraised.
That's good and it's real. And sometimes you not even don't necessarily even need to consider buying businesses that are necessarily right up your alley. But for me, my consideration right now, and when I get in position, is buying businesses that complement what I do. I ultimately want to own a mechanical, electric, and plumbing company to complement my general contracting.
That's
But
good. That's
I'm
good.
not licensed to do any of those three things. So, but they're vital to what I do as a GC.
Absolutely. And so it enhances your business as a GC because now you have, especially a business that has been has P&Ls that have been consistent over time, right? That lets you know right there. When businesses are like this, that speaks to the clientele coming and going, coming and going. When it's steady, that speaks to reoccurring clients, reoccurring customers, and those customers stay with you although you increasing your prices, right? And so, you want to be able to do that. You could buy and cheap. I don't know if she mentioned this, but you're buying the people that was in that business oftentimes. How many times you've been in situations, it might have been at a work, at a job, and they're like, oh, it's under new management, so they decided to replace the people, or sometimes they kept people. Same thing on the side. Okay. All right. So business systems are the backbone of sustainability, and I'm just going to hit it and quit it because I want to. Y'all still with us? If this is helpful, please let us know that it's helpful. I know they say do the flying emojis, and I don't know. Put in
Put a one in the chat if this is helping you.
Okay, cool. All right. So here are some business systems that are critical. Client systems, CRMs is for managing leads, onboarding and nurturing relationships. That's again, and rather running a church, if you got people coming in the church and then going out the back door, and then you wonder why you can't advance your ministries, you can't do more service. Maybe your pantry now your soup kitchen is relying on people to bring the soup in, right? Because you don't have enough resources in the house to be able to provide those, systems outside and give to the poor or give to the hungry, right? Could it be that the way we are managing them when they come in, what's happening? Are we keeping them? Right? So are we positioning ourselves to nurture existing clients and paving the way for new clients? You can't remember, especially if, at any given moment, I could go and speak at an event and it's over 100 people. And oftentimes, especially when I teach my signature course, GC or GC without killing the relationship, I get off that stage and it's a line of 35 people. Who keeping up with them? I really don't even see them because I'm so exhausted. You might hear preachers say the loyal just, the virtue went out me. I don't know. And so I'm right cross-eyed and I'm nodding my head. So you want these systems to be in place so that you can effectively keep up with it, keep up with the process and the people. Financial systems, automate invoicing, do financial forecasting. And if you have a financial system, it allows you to do that. So remember I mentioned, being able to what did I say somewhere? I said having predictable revenue streams, right? Well, that ain't just going to happen. You have a financial system that will help you do that. Will help you inventory what's going out, what's coming in. And somehow, you got to get people in the business that understands just because you don't have tangible products, clients become that. They still need to be inventory. They still need to be handled a certain way. And you still need to be making sure you're not upside down. It'd be like you upside down on your car loan or your home loan. You could be upside down in your business. So you want the financial systems to help you with that. Operational systems, SOPs, to make sure the business runs without you. And you want the people that are working in the business to run more efficiently and smoother, because then that allows you to not keep feeling like you're starting over. Because if you keep starting over, that means you're not servicing people. You just starting over, right? And it's okay. You got to make changes. And for those who don't have a business yet, right? Or if you have a business right now and you need to reevaluate. I'm going through a reevaluation right now. You got to do it. You're a business owner. And while everybody else may not be able to see how you see as much as you want them to, and probably as much as they should, the onus is still on you. Because guess what you got in mind? This is generational wealth building. This is me having the ability to serve people continuously and year in and year out. And if there's anything in the business that's causing me to have to keep starting over and not even make it to another year, it got to go, right? So you want to make sure you have those operational systems in place. Marketing and sales automation, sales funnel. If you They got all kinds of things now, and I'm learning. Brianna is our in-house person, and she's available to members in the collective. That's the other perk of being in a collective. You get a ton of these services for a discounted rate, or in some cases for free. But these are the things that are important. You think all of those people who you see their stuff pop up and then you click a button and then it takes you somewhere else and all that, you think that's done behind there? Like, all right, I'm waiting for her to push a button and then I'm waiting for her to push another button. No, that there are systems and automation that's happening. All right, here's a takeaway. Here's an ask of you. Which system or structure do you need to implement or improve right now? And these are questions I asked myself. So as I was getting this together, the Lord said, you gotta ask. He keep having me on this thing that there are a lot of people, even believers, that are deceiving themselves. They think they're somewhere that they're not. We think we're somewhere that we're not. It's like delusional. So the question again, which system or structure do you need to implement or improve on? So remember the systems I gave you: client systems, financial systems, operational systems, marketing and sales automation. Sharon, you want to jump in before I go on?
No, because those are actually, I'm sitting here thinking myself what I could enhance on, and I just think I need a different CMR. I had one, but I abandoned it, so now I got to go back to, I got to find one that actually works for me. So
Yeah, and there's all kinds of CRMs out there, but you want to make sure that is relevant to what you're doing. So in my business, we were using one called Podio, and Podio was designed mainly for real estate properties. I mean, now you can toggle and integrate all this other stuff, but it didn't allow for me to then add when we scaled and started teaching courses. Well, if it's all interconnected, you want to make sure you get a CRM that makes sense for your business type, and the level of growth that you need. We just went through an overhaul where we had all of these systems. I'm not using Polio, I'm using Go High Level. We had all of these systems because guess what I was doing? A business in survival. Oh, we need this. We need this. We need this. And I kept adding and I kept adding and I kept adding. Come to find out, there was one system that could replace all of the systems. So let's make sure that if you're going to get, to Sharon's point, a CRM, that you get it not just for today. Remember, we talked about that. That's when you're in survival mode. Take a moment. Think about what you want to produce in your business. Think about who you want to produce from your business. Think about how you want to serve, how long you want to serve. Think about, the revenue goal that's attached to this particular business. All of my businesses are an extension of a financial goal that I have, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm not using my job to source all of my goals. It ain't even possible, right? And so if you're going to do it, you put a business structure and let it be focusing on a particular financial goal. It might be an education goal for your kids and your grandkids. It may be a housing goal for you and your grandkids, for you and your parents, but you want to make sure that the systems you use support the growth. Because let me tell you, and I learned this the hard way. I started a nonprofit in 2003, and I ain't had no business sense at all. I didn't come from a legal background. I just had a heart. I knew where them girls came from. I knew I was them at one point, and oh, how I wished I had someone to love and care and mentor me. And so, listen, y'all, and this is God's grace. But I remember at a certain point, the Holy Spirit was like, don't frustrate we shouldn't, the biblically say we shouldn't be frustrating the Holy Spirit. I know I was like probably wearing him out, like, man, I was putting the kids in my car because everything I did not get to do as a kid, because 12 was just too young to be all grown up. And I was all grown up. I had to be all grown up. So everything I couldn't do, we was skiing. I went to the Black on Wax Museum. I loaded these girls up in my car. And then the people who was volunteers, they just believed in me. And so they was like, come on, put them in the car. They wasn't covered under insurance. Thank God we had no accidents. And then it took me like 2 years to get waivers, right? But the 2 years prior, I wasn't having nobody sign off. It was like, I'm going at this time, had the girls meet me at this recreation center, and that was it. Like, what the heck? Like, so you want to make sure that wasn't good business. You gotta laugh at some of this stuff. All right, cash flow and profitability. This is the money movement of it. So we talked about the mindset. We talked about movement, which is the systems. They move the stuff, move the processes along. They move the business along. Now we're talking about the money. So you want to think through what main service or product is driving your business. And for the sake of time, I'm gonna hit these and quit these because I did want to have a group discussion, but I'm gonna hit these and quit it. What is your core offer? So if you're invested in real estate, my core offer in real estate out of all of the strategies is buy and holds. That's my core offer. And not just any type of buy and hold. I don't buy all of my properties just for me to hold them. I buy them as lease to own options. So then that way, people in my community who are victims of redlining or marginalization or discrimination, or unable to realize home ownership, I'm able to use my real estate investing activities to help that. Right. But you need to know what it is and where is the revenue coming from. Reoccurring revenue. So, you have to be able, this is in order to have sustainable revenue streams, you got to know it. And what will that be for you? Are you going to do memberships? Are you going to do subscriptions? Are you going to do retainers? I just recently added a done for you program. And that's going to probably be on the coaching side, a core offer. But you have to know it. If it's going to be burgers, I don't know if you're going to do vegan meals. Let me tell you, the vegan places are killing it. I bought a sandwich and been buying this sandwich. It's so good. This jerk something. That joint was like $17. They killing it. I'm sure they just got the Beyond Burger meat and chopped it up and put it on a roll. But it costs, I think 2 Beyond Burgers, I pay like $9 for them, from the supermarket. Whatever your business is, if you're going to have lipstick, are you going to do, what are they called? I don't know, but what I'm like, spa days or something like that, where you have makeup parties. That's what it's called. Is that going to be where you primarily get your income from, or are you going to put them in a store? Now the only part with that putting it in a store is that you don't totally own it and you paying on stuff, right? So we going after ownership. We want to own it because who owns controls the flow of it. So we want to be able to do that. Passive income, right? You want to create inside of your business opportunities for the income to be, again, not trading time for money because you left that world. You ain't supposed to come over here and do more of the same. Now, it's different when you're working for yourself. You're willing to work for wealth, but it should have an ending. That's what I've been talking to my team about. It's one thing to, it's like, all right, for a season, we got to do this, but that some people, they season ain't never end. I ain't with that. That's for the birds. So here's some ideas of passive income. So digital products. We move into digital products inside of my company. Investments, right? I have a tenant, and now the Lord allowed another tenant to replace that tenant, where every night, every 15th of the month, he would pay at midnight. The moment the clock struck, that man paid. And guess where I was asleep? I was sad to see him go, but the Lord has sent another one just like him, where clockwork, they pay when they pay, like on the due date, right? That's passive. I'm not working for that. I could be on the beach. I could be asleep. You want to be able to make sure you drive your business that way. Want assets that can generate income without direct effort. All right, I'm going to wrap up with this because this is a place, and then Sharon, if you want to give some closing words, that would be great, or closing thoughts. I know you said you had something to give away to the people. Financial tracking and wealth building. There's a lot of business owners that don't know their numbers, and I'm going to tell you how I know, because the Bible says ain't nothing new under the sun, and I was one of them. I'll be flipping and all of that, and don't laugh, but I didn't realize I wasn't making a profit. What was happening was I was getting returns, but you don't make a profit unless you get back what you put in. That's a profit. The profit ain't just I made some money. I'm gonna say that for the people in the back. Profit is after you pay expenses, get your original investment back. What did you get in addition to that? And if you're not tracking that, it's easy to get lost. Like people go into, real estate investing and they forget there's a such thing called holding costs. They plan for the buy of it, but you gotta have insurance while you building. You have to have the utilities on while you're building. You need a security system while you building, right? There are some expenses. You paying interest only while you're building. If you got, depending on where you got your funding sources from and what that looks like. So know your numbers, understand your profit margin. I ask people all the time, how do you know if you're profitable or not? If you're not keeping up with the numbers, how do you know? I had one person just tell me, I just know. Well, that ain't no wealth strategy. Because, you could be bringing in money, but what if you need to change your pricing? What if you're losing money? What if you're incurring too many expenses, right? So you got to know your numbers. I drive the profit first model, which next month in a collective, we're going to be doing, Curtis is going to be leading us in our next book discussion, which you want to tap into that because he's going to be able to answer the questions live and in time. So I'm telling y'all, if you ain't a collective member, you need to be a collective member. You need to subscribe today. And for those who are collective members, you need to be able to, you can convince somebody to go to a concert every month, you need to convince them to get into the collective. If you can convince somebody to go see, I was getting ready to say Ja Rule. I don't even know, is he still around? I don't even know how that came out. But if you're going to go see Ja Rule, I ain't never seen him.
You're telling on yourself. You're telling on your age.
Oh, but if you can convince somebody to do that, if you can convince somebody to go out eating with you every month that ain't making them money, that's temporary self gratification, which is cool. You need it. I mean, need it every now and again. But they struggling. They don't have enough in store for, years to come. You need to be able to convince them to come into a space that's going to help them make money so that they can not only buy Jordans, but have stock in Jordans. People, and this is probably the first time anybody's ever hearing this because I'm a very private person. People like, Terri, you wear a lot of ones. Yeah, because I got stock in that.
Using your dividends to buy.
Started out paying $300 and, because I'm a sneakerhead. I've always been one. Like, you go ahead and own some of this. I'm just saying. Okay. And so we're going to, then the next book we're going to read is the Profit First Model. That will also help you allocate income for profit, taxes, expenses, and owner's pay. And here's the thing. It has allowed me to make those practices transferable into my personal life. Secure business credit and funding. Leverage other people's money for growth. This is the financial tracking and wealth building paired together. And trust me, in order to use other people's money, they'll ask you questions like, how much did you make last year? They'll ask you, where's your profit and loss statement? I mean, I'm into buying now. My investment efforts have scaled, but they don't ask me for certain things anymore. But I had to give that along the way. Have performers and all those sorts of things. You got to be able to know and track your numbers. All right. Question. Are your pricing and revenue strategies setting you up for long-term wealth? And if you're new to business, I saw somebody type, will your pricing and revenue strategy set you up for long-term wealth? If you're not and you're seasoned or you're investing and you don't appear to be moving the needle, what needs to change?
I hope that, first of all, I hope that you all got a lot of value out of what was shared on tonight. I know we started off kind of like a little preachy. We ain't come to preach, but obviously we will, because there are principles that just can't be denied. You know what I'm saying? And that even people who aren't of faith still operate in faith by operating these principles because they work. So we hope that you all got something from that tonight and that you were encouraged. We're excited about the challenge that's coming up next week. And we are looking forward to you all being there. I know I've got some people I'm about to post on my Facebook page and on Instagram. I've got some people that I'm going to encourage, and I may even go in and halfway sponsor them to come in, because I think that this information is really necessary. And honestly, anybody that's ever borrowed any money from me, you might as well go ahead and get your pennies together because you coming to this. But in all seriousness, we're looking forward to like the upcoming month or so that we have. I was able to secure some people today for the upcoming master classes, and I'm really excited about them because I know them personally, and I know that they are people of business, people about their business, and they're other women that look like me. Some of them, actually, two of the three of them are from my sorority. So it's gonna be good to be able to reconnect and talk with them. We'll be talking about business systems versus solopreneurship, business versus solopreneurship, the difference. And we talked about that a little bit tonight, but we're going to talk about it more in depth, and that's going to be with my friend and line sister, Aretha Cruz Bristow. We're also going to be talking about all things legal. We'll be sharing about business taxes and tax strategies for your business and how you can set yourself up to avoid, having to pay taxes. Listen, if anybody has read the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then the cash flow quadrant, you'll know from reading that there's, this system is set up to favor the people who own businesses and that invest. And that's just it. If you in the other two quadrants, you are someone else's asset and they are your liability. If you really think about it, you get up and go to work every day, you're their asset. It's the truth. And then we're going to have, as we start moving into the month of April, we're going to start discussing matters of, before we get you to talking about financing, we're going to be talking about credit. We're going to be talking about personal credit, and we're going to be talking about business credit. And that is going to be with my friend Sabrina Fisher, who was very gracious today to accept the invitation. And she has, I've heard her talk about it before, and it just has never ceased to amaze me that, she can condense it or she can spread it out. So she has some good stuff prepared for you all. And I don't think I mentioned that the tax attorney and CPA that's coming is all one person. When you got somebody that's a CPA and an attorney, like that's a lot, right? That's a lot of training. That's a lot of certification. And that is going to be Pamela Harrigan Young Esquire, who is also one of my lovely sorority sisters. So we're looking forward to the next, few weeks. And Terri and I'll be back, and we'll be bringing some other people to the stage. But, we want to just encourage you all to hang in there with us as we are on this journey together to get 1% better every day, individually and collectively. You know what I'm saying? We are actually, I heard somebody say this today, we are as strong as the weakest one that's in our group. And so we want everybody to be strong. We want everybody to be healthy. We want everybody to be financially where they need to be in order to be able to affect change in the earth, to affect change in the kingdom, and to walk in the purpose that they were put in the earth for. So we're all trying to become that 1% better. And with that, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. Love you guys, though. Just so they'll know, what's coming up. I mean, because that may be, sometimes you don't know the topic until you get here, and it might be helpful to you for you to know what we're going to be talking about in the upcoming weeks, because you may have somebody that you may, want to share, from Facebook or YouTube to your Facebook page, and put some people in a situation where they can hear some information that might turn the light bulb on.
Yeah. Well, I will say this will be taken down off YouTube. It's a benefit of being inside the collective. So all of the videos will be up in the collective. So with that, look, I know a lot was thrown out tonight, but you have lifetime access. You want to make sure you go back, and sometimes there's, something you heard and you didn't hear, and it's just another nugget. Again, all of it is to help, as Sharon said, help you build cash flow, build it exponentially. Somebody told me, "Oh, why you need so much money? Why you go to work for money?"
Because money answers all things. That's why.
I mean, all things. It
Always.
is biblical. Look. you know? So anyway, with that, thank you for having us. It has been a pleasure tonight. Again, don't just stockpile information. Make sure you go implement it. And if you need help with anything, reach for us inside of the collective. And until next time, God bless you all and good night. Bye. Yo, we could have talked for days, but because we want you to join us next Tuesday for another episode of Terri Talks, that's it for today. Talk soon.